Let's talk about money. One of the first mistakes that I see many event hosts make is not pricing their tickets properly. A lot of times they are just thinking of a number and going with it. And the issue with this is that they have absolutely no idea how much their event is going to cost. And so, what this leads to is many event hosts undercharging for their event and then ultimately burning themselves out because they are desperate to get people in seats. They are then desperate to, maybe sell something at their event. And it just is a downward spiral that could all have been avoided if they had properly priced themselves in the beginning. I want to welcome you to the Events Make Sense podcast. Women come here to learn about how to host profitable and purposeful events because you can absolutely do both. My name is Natisha Crockett. I'm your friendly guide. And today we are going to be talking all about budget and making sure that you are pricing yourself properly. I want you to meet me in the comments if you're on YouTube. I want you to meet me in the comments if you have seen events with the ticket price of $97 or $47 or $147 or $297 or insert number with that ends in a 7 in the comments, right? We've seen it all. And I often wonder, how did that person come up with that number? Is it, the marketing psychology of buyer psychology where, we're just adding the 7 to our events, or is there really some truth about why we are pricing our events in such a way? Because if you are just thinking of a number out of thin air, or a number that you're most comfortable with, or a number that you think people are going to pay, or a number that is safe, and you are not actually figuring out the cost that it is going to cost you to run that event, you are doing yourself a major disservice. The first thing that I do with my clients when we work together is we make sure that their tickets are priced properly. Because, like I said, if your tickets are not priced properly, this is just going to lead to burnout and desperation. And you do not want to sell from a place of desperation. So many times people will have pick this price point, but they don't know the numbers. And so let's get into exactly what you should do, or the numbers that you need to figure out exactly how much you should be charging for your tickets. Now, first and foremost, you need to write down everything. And when I say that you need to know the amount of everything, I do quite literally mean you need to know how much everything is going to cost, from your venue to your catering to your swag bags. Here are some things that people often miss in the numbers: your hair, your makeup, your outfit, right? So many times as the event host, because events are typically a very stressful time for somebody, you are the last person that you think of. You wait till the last minute to get your outfit. You tell yourself you're going to do your own makeup. And there's nothing wrong with you doing your own makeup. So don't take that out of context. But if you are, say you're someone that's going to be hiring a photographer or a videographer, it is okay to make sure that you are camera ready by getting your makeup done. This is your day. It's more so you just investing into ease, not that you can't do it, or not that you doing your own makeup doesn't look good. It's the fact that hosting an event is stressful, and the only thing that you should be worried about on event day is making sure that you are showing up in a space of gratitude, that you can serve the people that are going to be sharing space with you. That is literally the only thing that you should be worried about. Unfortunately, that is typically like the last thing that event hosts are worrying about, because a lot of times they are um, lighting out fires. They are still doing all these things on the back end because they don't have the support that they need, right? So identify all cost. Um, as far as breaking down those costs, you want to know what your fixed costs are. Maybe the venue is just a fixed rate, right? Like if you are just getting a conference room for the day and maybe it's not charged by the hour, that would be a fixed rate. A per person cost, this would be something like your food, right? Like your catering is going to vary based on the amount of people that you're feeding. Maybe the amount of items that you have to buy for your swag bag is going to depend on the amount of people that are in the room. And then, so you want to have your fixed cost, you want to have your variable costs, and then you also want to identify how much money you want to make as well. And then another number that you'll want to keep in mind is a profit number. A lot of people are not calculating profit into their price. Now, you can, however much you want to profit, that could be your personal number. I typically will add on 30% profit to my expense level. You also need to make sure that you are accounting for any support or volunteers, snacks for your volunteers. This is one that typically is forgotten about. I know for me, when I held one of my first events, I'm like, oh, I have to feed my volunteers, and so that was a price point that wasn't in my original budget. So these are just some things and some numbers that you want to make sure you are not forgetting. Do not leave any stone unturned. Okay. And so basically, what you're going to do once you have all the numbers of your expenses, you're going to add them up. Say, for example, all your expenses add up to $5,000. Here's where we're going to do a little math. Write this formula down, take some notes. It's literally an easy formula. You are going to, again, add up all those expenses. And then you are going to divide the number of expenses. So the amount of expenses, I just gave the example of $5,000. And then you are going to divide that by the amount of people that you want in the room, right? So say you want 20 people in the room. Well, that means your ticket price is $250. Here's what I hear very often, because a lot of times women are very surprised by how high their ticket price should actually be. Now, just because it says 250 is what you should be charging, that doesn't necessarily mean that's how much you're going to charge. Hear me. I don't want you to get confused, because just because it says 250, this is just like your break even point, right? This is you understanding like, okay, I need to be selling tickets at least $250. But a lot of times what I hear is women will tell me, well, I don't think my audience is gonna, buy a ticket for $250, or they just don't feel comfortable selling a ticket at $250. And both is okay, because here's the thing. You know your audience. You know who you're speaking to, right? So if you know that some of the things that you have sold in the past, for example, Maybe I had given an example before. One of my first events, I sold tickets for two for $12. And then that next year, I had sold tickets for 147. What if I went from 2 to 12 to 250, right? Like, if I had not been doing the work to justify that price point, my audience probably would have looked at me like I was crazy and been like, I'm not paying $250. Here's the thing though, if you are doing the work, if you are showing up as an authority, if you can back up your results, and you can justify that price point of $250, charge $250. Because like I said, I went from selling tickets from 2 to 12, and then that next year my ticket prices were 149 and 349, and people paid them, and more people bought VIP than general admission. So you have to be confident in the number that you are operating in terms of your ticket price. If you're not saying it with your chest, if you're not standing 10 toes down on, $250 or whatever the case may be, people are going to feel that. They're going to feel that energy. They're going to feel that you don't even mean that. And so we don't want that. And so if you are an individual where you see the number and the number kind of scares you, or you just aren't ready, or that the experience that you are going to be giving your attendees is not worth $250, we have some things that we can do to combat that number. Because here's another thing, because I didn't want to just kind of swift by this. We also need to be honest with ourselves. If we are not executing an event that is worthy of $250 in your eyes, right? Like, if you're not showing up as your best self, if you are outputting mediocre work, And so if you yourself feel like what you are going to present to your audience is not 100% effort or 150% effort, and you yourself would not pay $250 for what you're about to put out, then drop it down. Because the last thing you want is to have a price point and it isn't in alignment with what you're actually offering, right? And so moving on to, you have this price, you're not comfortable with this price. What are some things that we can do to kind of offset this number? We know that this is our break even point. So the first thing that you can do, that I always recommend, is incorporating tiered pricing, ticket tiered pricing. All this is that you are offering multiple different ticket levels. So you may have a general admission and you may have a VIP admission. And so maybe we're utilizing the $250 example. You weren't comfortable with maybe your general admission being $250. Maybe your general admission, maybe you drop them down to $150, and then you create this elevated experience for another group of people, and now they're paying $250. And so if you start to as you start to promote and you start to market, it's going to fluctuate about who's coming in. You're going to have some folks coming in at $250. You're going to have some folks coming in at your general admission. So that is one way to kind of offset that cost, is creating an additional ticket tier. You can create some type of offer to go along with the event. So you can create some type of offer, whether it's like a digital product or some type of like pre-work, different offers around the experience. These could be, lower lower priced items. They definitely don't need to be in the 3-figure realm. But what you want to do is you want to diversify the amount of money that is coming in. Another thing that you can do is going to be sponsorships and strategic partners. This is something that I definitely incorporate at my personal events. As far as strategic partner goes, I love to do a swag bag sponsor. So you can have a price point for somebody to be a part of your swag bag. You can have somebody, again, I am an individual that creates platforms for women to share. I often do like a speaker ticket, somebody who, like a sponsored speaker. And the reason why these two options are great is because we said our break even ticket price was 250, right? Well, maybe you added like a 275 or a 295 or a 300 or maybe a 350, right? For $350, you can speak or you can add your swag bag items to the swag bag. So for that, an additional $30. You might not have a ton of people sign up for those spots, but if you get a handful of those people that are paying $100 more than you need them to, that is going to offset some of those costs. And this is truly the one thing that I do and did at my events to really help offset those costs is the strategic partners. The strategic partners are everything, truly, truly, truly. You can create different bundles or access bundles. Again, this kind of goes in with the creating like products specifically for the event. Merch, you could do that prior to the event. My whole mindset, though, is I want my event paid for before the doors open. Every event that I have had, I have been able to make sure that like all major costs are paid up front before I even have my event. And the reason why this is so amazing is because you are going into your event with a clear mind. You're not desperate. You're not worried. You're not in the red. You're not thinking, oh my God, I need to make X amount of money so I can close out this invoice. You're not thinking about any of that because the event is paid for. And so really taking into consideration and being intentional about incorporating some of these things prior to your ticket pricing can truly help make sure that you're all paid off. I remember at my Galentine's Day event, I remember I was freaking out because I mean, we were, I think, like 3 days in before my event, and I still was down some money to pay the venue. And I just remember breaking down and just crying. And I'm not like talking just, tears just rolling down your face. I mean, like boo-hoo crying, like to God, like literally, because I was just so stressed and I had no idea what to do at that point or where the money was coming from. Like I had no idea where the money was going to come from. And so I just remember like 2 days before the event, some random dividend check came to me. To this day, I have no idea the origin of this check, but a check in like almost the exact amount that I needed came to me 2 days before my event. That was nothing but the grace of God. I although I'm thankful, I don't want to be that stressed. And I don't wish that stress upon anybody. And so the way that you can combat having to feel that is making sure that you are not undercharging yourself, right? We are not running a charity. It is okay to make money. It is okay to charge for the things that you are offering to the marketplace. It is okay to do that. Um, and so you just want to make sure that you're not getting yourself in the red. That's what you want to make sure. Because here's the thing, you can't create a profitable event off of just vibes. Simple as that. I truly believe that this is the one mistake that most event hosts are making, and I believe that if you were to fix this one mistake, you would have a lot less stress as you were hosting your events because you wouldn't be selling from a place of desperation. Truly, I would take a second. I truly want you to envision what it would feel like if you didn't owe anybody anything on the day that you showed up to your event. On the day that the doors opened to your event, you were scot clear. You could leave that event and make $0 and you wouldn't owe anybody. Like, how would that feel? And on that same note, how would it feel with you knowing that you don't know anybody? And then you have this event, you showcase your offer, people buy your offer, and now you've made $20,000 in 6 hours. And now all of that is yours, pure profit, because you don't owe anybody anything. That is what I want for you. That is what I want for you as you host each and every single one of your events. I want you to make sure that you are pricing yourself properly so you are setting yourself up to make money before your event, during your event, and after your event. You can absolutely host purposeful and profitable events. Okay? I want to thank you for joining me on today's episode of Events Make Sense. If this resonated with you in any way, if you found this helpful, I feel like this is going to be an episode that many, many people will find helpful. I literally gave you the formula to make sure that you are not undercharging for your events. So if you know somebody who hosts an event, go ahead and like this, share, subscribe to the podcast. I just know that this episode right here is definitely going to bless somebody. I want to thank you for being here with me. I'm honored to be able to walk this journey with you, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.